I do want to ask about the baptism of the dead. I'll tell you why. And then I have one more question. But baptism of the dead, I accidentally met. Oh, he has now left the Mormon faith, but he was one of the highest ranking priests in the world in the Mormon faith. And he was telling me that they do baptisms of the dead 24/7, all day, every day, which is part of the reason why they insist on controlling the world's genes and genome, is so that they can do this properly and baptize every single human on earth that dies to their knowledge. What is that about?
Okay. So going back to 1 Corinthians 15, if you look just a little bit further, Paul says that he suffers every day. So that's a clue when he says, I mean it, but I suffer every day. So what is this baptism really all about? Well, Jesus said, I have a baptism to undergo. And that baptism was a baptism of suffering. So what Paul is saying is that the baptism that he and his fellow brethren are going through, brothers and sisters in the church at that time, are to bring in the dead Israelites. This is Ezekiel 37 again, that valley of dry bones. This is what the resurrection of Israel, the regathering of Israel was all about, is they're bringing their dead brothers and sisters into the kingdom. That's why he's suffering every day, is because they're going through all kinds of persecutions and trying to get their brothers and sisters to see that this is now the way. This is what God had in mind that whole time.
We're going to do this again. I'm telling you, it's a dream of mine to bring in someone and have a peaceful, calm conversation about this, because the church on both sides has got to be more open to this. But one thing I think is really important to ask, at least, is so the average person is not reading your book. Why? Because I'm not reading something that's demonic, that I've already labeled as demonic and evil and hedonistic, and this is what Paul said. So where would you suggest somebody biblically even start to open this can of worms? Because if it's at least biblically, maybe they'll be more open to even considering it, rather than reading not the Bible to learn about it.
In terms of trying to figure all this out in the Bible?
Yeah, or starting to have a personal revelation of their own.
Okay, so I think it starts with Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28. Understanding that there was a covenant agreement between God and Israel. And every time God punished Israel is because they broke that agreement. Revelation is basically, you rejected my son. That is the last straw in this agreement. So now, as Ephraim, the 10 northern tribes, have basically been divorced and harvested, so to speak, in Hosea 6, he tells Judah, I got a harvest plan for you too. And it wasn't Babylon, because he knew he had to keep Judah preserved because Messiah was coming through that bloodline. But after Jesus came and they rejected him, he was no longer obligated. And now he could punish them for the sins that they were committing. So starting with the covenant agreements of Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28, looking at Revelation 6, you understand very clearly that's what's going on. The next thing is just look at time statements in the Bible. Start looking in the New Testaments about when Jesus was supposed to come back, when he said things were going to happen. I mean, one clear indication is Matthew 10:28, where he said, you want to finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. You can't get away from that one. In John 21, where he tells Peter, and Peter asks him, well, what about John? He says, if I want him to remain until I come, what's that to you? So you think John's still walking around here somewhere?
What's going on, guys? If you like that clip right there, you will love the full interview. You can check that out right there. I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and subscribe, because we got a lot of big things coming up in the near future.